In light of recent events, I've been asked several times of late, why is there evil? Or if there is a benevolent God, why is evil allowed to exist? Now, of course, this occurs in common language as it's spoken as good and evil, or good versus evil. And it's understood to have a spiritual overtone since it's placed in God's purview. So that's how we have to start our understanding. There is our source, and then there is us. We reside in two intermingled and intertangled or entangled domains. To understand evil, we have to understand how these two realities are related. First, there is the three-dimensional social domain of man, and then there is the greater dimensional reality of our source, past death, to which we are all progressing. Both of these realities are part of nature, and we relate to them in the sense that we have a human nature and also a spiritual nature. This we want to keep in mind because it is understood when we speak of evil, we're speaking of an act of man. As humans, we are primarily relegated to the natural, three-dimensional, sensory world. Although we are spiritual with spiritual abilities as well, of which we shall soon discuss the importance and the connection. But for the moment, we need to understand our social domain. In its largest sense, we understand the universe is in a state of entropy, that the world is constantly trying to go from a state of order to disorder. In our case, from a state of chaos to a state of greater chaos. We attempt to arrange civilizations with morals, religions, and governments fighting to keep order. These are cultural systems to which we are generally agree with and to be obedient. Now we want to contrast this with the reality of the spirit. The spiritual domain, the nature of source or God or whatever you wish to call it, within which our true purpose lies, this greater dimensional reality in which we all will pass is opposite its state of nature to the organic world. It is peaceful, unchaotic, and spiritually orderly and arranged. This is its nature due to its functionality, which is for another discussion. When we understand the nature of these realities, we have the basis for understanding evil. And although this could be days worth of discussion, let's basically understand how they are connected and how we fit into that connection. The two aspects of the human that facilitate or serve these realities are the ego and the will. The ego is organic by nature and is associated with the mind. The human will is spiritual by nature and is entangled with the greater will of Source. As we mature as human beings, there is a constant tension between these two critical aspects of our being. Either we will achieve a greater awareness and the ego will serve the will, and with greater awareness, our willpower will functionalize the ego to be in harmony, order, and arrangement of our spiritual nature. Or the will serve the ego towards personal objectives and control. So when we view the world through the personal egoistic lens, it is impossible to see the whole picture. It's like putting a puzzle together without all the pieces. The picture will never make sense. To a greater or lesser degree, every human being that is not fully conscious is in that situation. It's just a matter of degree. Because we are living in a nature with entropy, chaos, and disorder, nothing ultimately makes complete sense or is worth true purpose. We are living in a world of and subject to derangement. Some individuals, for many reasons, are led further and further from the path. They're led down a path where their purpose is more personal and less spiritual, so that things over time make less and less sense. The picture of this world becomes more and more confusing. And as they lose greater and greater control, they become more and more deranged with the world. It is then that they act out against humanity, against the seeming senselessness, in the most deranged way. It is these acts of derangement that we know as evil, since they have torn every shred and thread of moral fiber. And that is where it's a struggle between good and evil. Either the collective acts of the more conscious will create a world where the universal spirit is allowed to bring order and peace and purpose to the derangement, or personal chaos and confusion and the tortured minds will grow into evil and depravity. This is what we face. And it is from here, this place, that we hear the echoes of, "Blessed be the peacekeepers."